For 10 years of my life, I had this index card pinned up above my bed. Not because I didn't know where my bed was, or because I liked the picture, but it reminded me every morning and every night which way the letter B went and which way the letter D went. That may seem very simple to some of you, but to many it's not. In school, I was a hardworking student. I had great friends, I loved my teachers, and they loved me. As I got older, naturally, the academic requirements began to get harder and the books began to get longer. A difference between my friends and I slowly became clear. I was really struggling while they were flying ahead. I couldn't keep up despite the tutoring in and out of school. I'd be pulled from my classes and separated from my friends, then after school, be rushed to one of my tutors 4 days a week. The fact that I couldn't even be in some of the same classes my friends were in was embarrassing enough. But then the fact that I couldn't even play with them after school added to my sense of separation. I had always been a fun-loving, happy child, but as school went on, I became more withdrawn and isolated. It was hard for me as an 8-year-old girl to slowly feel myself drifting away. I would walk into school every day with a pit in my stomach, knowing I was going to fall further and further behind. I even started to come up with my own strategies to avoid getting made fun of, like having an emergency bathroom break when it was my turn to read, or looking over at my neighbor's work when I was really desperate. School no longer was about learning, it was about surviving. Throughout those early years, I was lucky to have my love for art, because it's what saved my self-esteem when I struggled with my academics. It's where I felt most valued and appreciated in home and at school. I could now express myself better with drawing rather than writing. And when our teachers assigned us to make an illustrative book at school, mine was all illustrations and no words. At this point, my teachers called my parents in. My parents, who have always been aware of my struggles, were walking in thinking it was just a normal parent-teacher conference meeting. But they walked out, shocked to hear that the school strongly encouraged us to look for another school that could give me the support I needed. My world was turned upside down. The reality of leaving a school where all my friends and my siblings were at was crushing to me. For me to even be considered to get into a school that could support me better, I had to take a 3-day intensive neuropsych test. And I don't remember much about the test except the result, that I was now officially diagnosed as severely dyslexic. There's a lot of myths and mysteries about dyslexia. We actually don't see words backwards. It's not a vision issue. It's more that we process words, letters, numbers differently. In fact, words are stored and retrieved in a variety of diverse ways, which can make it hard to diagnose. Other affected areas are the speed of processing, perception of time, memory, and organization, just to name a few. When it comes to the brain, we use the left side for logic, analyzing, judgment, and subjects such as science and math. The right side of the brain is for free, creative, intuitive thinking, and subjects such as drama, art, music, dance. But when it comes to reading specifically, non-dyslexics will read a word and it will go directly to the left side of the brain where it gets processed quickly. But for dyslexics, when we read a word, it gets delayed in the frontal lobe and then travels to the right side of the brain. Fortunately, with hard work and the right kind of support, we can train our brains to use the left side more effectively. Now, I'll give you an example of the effort it takes for someone with dyslexia to read. So, try to read the color. Don't read the word, read the color. Try a couple. You can see. Yeah. Okay. I was accepted to the Churchill School and Center in New York City that specializes in dyslexia and is one of the top schools in New York for it. I was scared to leave my school, but I also found myself deeply excited to be where the teachers knew exactly how to teach me, and I was surrounded by students who shared my struggles. Without them and my 7 years at Churchill, I wouldn't have the confidence or the strategies to be able to graduate from Bali. Green School on this Thursday. Green School is a beacon for students and families who want to live and learn differently. When I first encountered it on a Google search, I was struck by the bamboo classrooms, the hands-on learning, no standardized testing, and happy smiling kids running around in nature. It made me excited not to be stuck in a tall concrete building in the middle of New York City. Seeing the new way Green School was teaching its students, and especially after watching John Hardy's TED Talk, where he not only mentions his own struggle with dyslexia, but he even coined a new word, prolexia, I knew it was going to be a perfect fit for me. Once I arrived at the Green School, within the first couple weeks, I was assigned to write a 7-page history essay about the Hindu gods. This was not my 1.5-page essays I was used to writing back at Churchill. I was excited for the challenge, but also terrified of the thought of not being able to deliver. In the end, the skills from Churchill saw me through, and I was ecstatic with my A grade, but more proud of myself. I was reminded of the strong academic foundation that being at Churchill for 7 years gave me. Among other skills, I learned how to self-advocate and to ask for help whenever I needed it. And so I did. I went to my new teachers often, in and out of class, and thank God they were there for me. However, without that strong foundation from Churchill, I don't know if I'd be able to graduate this Thursday. The type of support I need as a dyslexic and what I thought was here isn't quite here. We have hard-working and talented learning staff here, but in my opinion and experience, a school of this size needs more than just 4 learning support specialists. With so many children needing extra help, these support specialists are going above and beyond. They need support themselves. The support department is so understaffed, underfunded, and underacknowledged. It's a kerfuffle. But let me be clear, this situation is not unique to just the Green School. It goes far beyond Bali and is widespread around the world. So far today, I've been telling you about my own personal experience with dyslexia, but that's really not the point of the talk. My message is that I am not broken. The system is. My intention is to change the system, to change the mindset. There are 700 million children and adults with dyslexia. And in my country, in the US, a regulated system barely exists. Most states have passed dyslexia-related legislation. And in Texas, for example, 6 bills have been passed. But the enforcement of these laws is very lax. Basically, educational boards allow superintendents of schools to treat these laws as optional, which they do. There are too many kids falling through the cracks. Not only can we suffer with academics, we can also suffer with self-esteem issues and depression. You work the hardest you ever worked on a paper, and a teacher hands it back and it's an F. They think you're lazy, your classmates think you're stupid, and you start to believe them as well. It's an ongoing cycle of negativity that's quite often hard to reverse. Did you know that 85% of prison inmates are dyslexic? 60% of juvenile delinquents are dyslexic. And if that doesn't say anything, people with learning disabilities like dyslexia have a 3 times higher chance of committing suicide. These are the potential consequences. This is what happens when some people don't get the support and the attention they need. The system teaches us to believe that if we can't fit into their standardized system, that our disability is a disadvantage to the world and to ourselves. But we are not broken. The system clearly is. Stigma is real. Despite scientific evidence to the contrary, dyslexics can still be judged and ridiculed for being dumb and incapable. But let me show you what dyslexics are capable of. Thomas Edison. Steven Spielberg. Leonardo da Vinci. Bill Gates. Henry Ford. Einstein. Eleanor Roosevelt. Thomas Jefferson. Whoopi Goldberg. Muhammad Ali. George Washington. Steve Jobs, Winston Churchill, and many, many more. Imagine the world without the contributions of some of these people, all of them dyslexic. When the Greenstone process first began, I wanted to figure out how to give back when I'd been given so much. My first thought was to raise money for an individual who also had dyslexia, but couldn't afford the same support I was able to get. But I had to think bigger, something more impactful. I wanted a program or a workshop where the seeds could be spread further, where more and more teachers could learn how to effectively teach children with learning differences. So, I partnered with my former 9th grade homeroom teacher, Michael Veriker from Churchill, where we created a professional development workshop to effectively teach children with learning differences, teach teachers with learning differences. Within 2 days of promoting the workshop, we were at capacity at 40 with a waiting list. Schools such as ProEd, Montessori, and CCS were represented. But I'm especially proud to say that 73% of the attendees were right here from the Green School. The enthusiasm and the gratitude for having the opportunity to take a class like this was amazing to see. I knew there was a need, but I could have never have realized how hungry people were to learn from Michael's workshop. My ultimate goal is to make a lasting impact, a reoccurring program available to educators local and international across Bali. Imagine if students could thrive in a school environment where not everyone learns the same way, and we learn to celebrate the diverse thinking. Oh shit. Standing here today is a testament to the support that I've been so fortunate enough to receive. The fact that I'm able to write this, to read this, and to stand up in front of you today is something I never thought possible. It's taken me a long time to finally see the gifts it's given me, and I want others to see the gifts it's given them. So if you're comfortable, raise your hand if you have dyslexia or any sort of learning disability, and be proud. Look, there's a lot. So we can't ignore this any longer. Let's ensure Green School delivers on its promise of being prolexic, a school where students with learning differences can thrive. I talked to Nicholas, the new MD, where we discussed about integrating the program sustainably into teachers' professional development here at Green School. I got a positive response, and I'm hopeful this becomes a reality, so that once and for all, Green School becomes the beacon of education that it promises to be for all students, but especially ones with learning differences.